Alvaro Odriozola is going to be also someone to look at. For Barcelona, Ivan Rakitic, Jordi Alba, and of course the man, the myth, the legend, that is Lionel Messi. You can check that out at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, on beIN Sports. And then on Saturday, you're going to check out the same matchup again at 11:45 Pacific, 2:45 Eastern. Same on beIN Sports as well, which is going to be another great matchup because right now, as the table stands, Real Madrid is 9 points off the leaders, Barcelona. A win here would bring it down to 6. And then second place, Atletico Madrid, assuming they win, would be able to bring the title race within 4 points, which, again, for most of the season has been not great. Excitement for La Liga. It seems like Barcelona's ran away with it early, but Real Madrid does have the chance to cut it down with roughly 11 to 12 games to go. And I think the winner of this matchup will have a huge momentum heading into not only the rest of the season, but as well as their Champions League hopes, as both Real Madrid and Barcelona are taking leads. Well, at least Real Madrid taking a lead in the second leg. Barcelona with a shocking 0-0 draw against Lyon. How will those two teams fare? I think those are great questions heading into the matchups here. We'll take a short break. When we come back, obviously we got a lot still to talk about on The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. The next up, what we're going to talk about is LeBron James. And, of course, actual serious conversation on LeBron James. Why his comments recently really don't resonate well, one of a leader and someone just that's looking to put the blame on somebody else. So we're going to play some music here. The Weekend Reminder on The Good, Bad, the Ugly, Episode 4 on Spreaker Radio. And welcome back to The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, Episode 4 on Spreaker Radio. I'm your host, Sam Cerrone. Earlier, thank you once again to Zach Schmidt, one of my old roommates, one of my best friends, for popping on the podcast to discuss some Space Jam 2 action, which is coming out in 2 years, so you can go check it out July 16, 2021. And we debated about who's the GOAT. Again, really light conversation, really fun conversation. So if you want to check it out, this podcast can be posted on Facebook. You'll find it on YouTube. You'll find it on Twitter. And, of course, on the Spreaker.com homepage. /SCERON as in Nancy, the number 1. That is my username there. Please rate. Please like it. Please subscribe to the podcast. It's going to be great. And, of course, we do have our blog here, Spicy Sports with Sam. You can check it out on WordPress.com. I'm going to write this week about Kepa Arrizabalaga, which we'll talk about as well in the final topic of the day. So we'll talk about that in a second. I typically don't reveal the final topic till it comes up, but I feel like that's a good conversation to have. Between Kepa Arrizabalaga and the coach of Chelsea, Mauricio Sarri, what the exchange went on there, and why at the end of the day you should still listen to your coach no matter what occurs there. But speaking of coaches, LeBron James. He came out after the All-Star break saying his playoff mode has been, quote-unquote, activated, which meant more intensity, more productivity, and doing whatever it takes to win games. Clearly, it hasn't been that way with Saturday's loss against New Orleans Pelicans without Anthony Davis, by the way. And, of course, on yesterday, losing to the Memphis Grizzlies, who really haven't been that great, and they don't have Marc Gasol anymore, so it kind of shows, okay, well, what's the point here? And because of that, right now, the way they are in the Western Conference, they are not even in a playoff spot at this point. They are 11th. 4 games or 3 games out of the last spot in the West, with roughly about 25 games to go. So the big question is, what's going to happen here? LeBron James has been, with this experience that you have, you do get a lot of players that either quote unquote don't contribute, or don't live up to the standard of LeBron James' team. And this is the lowest seed that LeBron James has been this late in the season. I think since his second or third year in the league. So it's been quite some time since he's experienced this. And then LeBron James was quoted after the games. He said, at this point, if you're still, in quote, at this point, if you're still allowing distractions to affect the way you play, then this is the wrong franchise to be a part of, he told reporters. And you should come and be like, I can't do this. Honestly, and this is an article written by USA Today, and USA Today says, look, both remarks show a lack of awareness and accountability and a particularly one-eyed view to the situation. And I think they're right. I think with the LeBron James team, yes, you get the good and the glory, and you should be a playoff contender. That's what most people predicted heading into the season. For me, I thought they were going to be an 8th seed at best, only because, quite frankly, they weren't going to get. I didn't think they were going to get the pieces toward the trade deadline. I didn't think they were going to get Anthony Davis. I didn't think they were going to get a star to come over. I didn't think they were going to get Kawhi either, Kawhi Leonard. It just seemed like it just was a dysfunctional franchise, or at least a young franchise of players that, are still too young in this Western Conference. Lest we forget, this conference is stacked with talent. That's why LeBron James most likely stayed in the Eastern Conference for so long. You look at the teams in the West. You have the Golden State Warriors, the defending champions. The Denver Nuggets are a team that's improved drastically, and are one of the surprising teams this season, even as a 2 seed. The Oklahoma City Thunder, with Paul George as a potential MVP candidate, being the best player on the team, in a team that also has Russell Westbrook to it, which is pretty impressive. The Trailblazers are solid. The Houston Rockets have been getting better with James Harden basically after carrying this team on his back for most of the season. You have Utah, LA Clippers, the San Antonio Spurs, and those are just the 8 spots. Still ahead of the Lakers, you still have the Sacramento Kings and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Excuse me. And so that puts the Lakers in the 11th spot, which I think is roughly where they ended up this past season, or this last season. It's out of the playoffs and another season of developing. I don't like. And the thing about LeBron James is, look, what did he expect? Did he expect to overturn this roster with a bunch of players, and then with all these rumors saying, oh look, Walton's not going to be past this season. LeBron's the coach now. And now that he didn't get the players that he wanted to trade for, where's the intensity that they're looking for to trade to get them past, to the playoffs? And I think LeBron James should, from a purely basketball perspective, if basketball is the most important thing, as he said, then the Lakers aren't the franchise that he should have picked. Look, maybe Magic Johnson, Rob Pelinka sold him on a vision that, look, we can get Anthony Davis or Kawhi Leonard in the offseason because we're the Lakers. We've heard this story for the last, 6-7 years now, and the truth is you just don't get free agents to LA, because with the social media era now, with Twitter, Facebook, all these apps, you don't have to be or you can be your own brand in whatever city you want. Look at Russell Westbrook. He's in Oklahoma City, and he's doing pretty good for himself, if I'm not mistaken. Anthony Davis is in New Orleans, but he's still a top 5 player in the league when healthy. I think that's pretty accurate. Golden State, has its own share of players. Portland, Damian Lillard's pretty good for what, even living in Nike's backyard. And Adidas is doing well. So there's so many players that can do well, and of course Kawhi Leonard before he's in Toronto, and he's doing just fine. You don't need to go to a big market anymore to do all these things. LeBron James wants to because he's the best player on the planet. That's fine. Go to the Lakers, but I feel like he had to have known in year one that this was not the route to take. This, you want to sign 1-year deals, that's fine. You're going to get criticized like Kevin Durant, but then when you also sign 4-year deals, what do you expect early on? This is a process, and I don't believe. Any Lakers fan who thought, we're going to be instantly a top 2 seed, we're going to compete with Golden State year 1, should have been out of their mind. You look at that roster. Lonzo Ball is shot's not great. He has good nights where he can do some great things off the ball, with the ball in his hands. But LeBron James is the point guard of this team now, so I don't believe he was going to get the ball out anyway. Brandon Ingram, he stepped up a little bit, but I think by this point we kind of know of what kind of player Brandon Ingram is. Kyle Kuzma has stepped up into a scorer, which is great to see. Josh Hart has been a great piece, but also the veterans on that team. You have JaVale McGee, Lance Stevenson, Rajon Rondo, who also want to contribute as well. And the problem is the younger guys over time, over the course of the season, have taken over their roles, and it's kind of created some tension in this locker room as to who really deserves the minutes, because there's not a lot of minutes to hand out for all these players. Of course, the one constant has been LeBron James, who had to go through his first ever injury type season, where he missed a number of games, and the Lakers were doing fine, but when LeBron James was out, it just seems that they couldn't hold that momentum, because clearly the drop-off between LeBron James and the second best player, which you could debate, could be Kyle Kuzma, you could debate could be Brandon Ingram, you could debate for some extent Lonzo Ball. The drop-off on that is pretty significant, whereas the other two, whereas his other teams, if he dropped off in Cleveland, Kevin Love could have picked it up, or Kyrie could pick it up, or in Miami, Chris Bosh or Dwayne Wade could have picked it up if he had a bad night. If LeBron James has a bad night, this team does not win games. Brandon Ingram, sure, he can go off for 30, but the rest of the team also has to contribute as well, and that's the best they've been able to do in some of these games since LeBron's come back. What's it going to take at this point for the Lakers to make the playoffs? It's going to take a lot. I mean, look, they're 3 games out. They still have a lot of room left. It just seems that this team is getting more and more dysfunctional as time goes on. Look, the good about this, it's year 1. The expectations on the Lakers should not have been, or in my opinion, most likely, definitely shouldn't have been, hey, we're going to go to the NBA Finals, because you have 3 or 4 teams in the West that could have easily crushed the Lakers in the playoffs, and they were going to get bounced in round 1 at best. I think, again, at best I thought they were going to be an 8th seed, maybe a 7th seed if they played really well. But it just seems like it just wasn't going to work out. They were going to get bounced by Golden State or somebody else, most likely the Houston Rockets in that first round. And then this offseason, then they were going to build, get Kawhi or get Anthony Davis, and then start building around for year 2 and year 3, where the Lakers could be a true contender. The bad about the situation is how the trade deadline came and went, and they didn't get a player. With so many rumors about who's going to be traded, what the Pelicans wanted. What was offered on the table, it put some dysfunction. You can clearly see after some of these rumors came out, there was some level of dysfunction within the locker room, because players hear the noise. Look, some players can say that they don't listen to the media, and that's fine. You can say it all you want. But the truth is, with so much accessibility these days, you have every tweet, every Facebook post, or every article written at the palm of your hands, and most people cannot ignore it. If something written about you, you want to know what's going on, or at least even if it's a really bad rumor, you still want to know, okay, what are people saying about me? And the fact is, most of these players outside of LeBron James were on the trading block. It seemed to be that's the direction where they were going. And then at that point, it just was like, okay, well, this is the roster we're going to stick with now. Sorry, we're not trading anybody. And then that killed some chemistry there. And the ugly about it is this whole situation. Look, LeBron James, I get it. You want to focus on basketball, but it seems like you also have a lot of things going on as well. Not saying that you can't balance those things, but if basketball is the most important thing, then you really got to focus on it. And again, maybe you are. But from the other things that you're doing out living in Los Angeles, it just doesn't seem like basketball is the most important thing. And again, I could be wrong, but it's LA. I don't expect basketball to be the most important thing, and that's what's the